Today we take up the next verse, verse 40 of the 18th chapter. This verse sums up this treatment of buddhi, dhruti, jnana, karma, karta, etc. in terms of the three gunas. A general statement concludes that section. That is verse 40. Na tadasti prithivyam va divi deveshu va punah sattvam prakritijair muktam yadebhisyan prabhirgunaihi. There is nothing in this world, nor in the world of heaven among the gods, which is untouched by this threefold guna classification. Everything is subject to the three gunas. So not only here, but in the more subtle worlds, which are the worlds of the gods, as we say. So na tad asti, there is nothing like this, either prithivyam, in this earth, divi deveshu va punah, or in the heaven among the gods, sattvam, any entity, prakritijair muktam yadebis tribhigunaihi, free from the touch of these three gunas, which are the constituents of prakriti or nature. This is gross, that is subtle, but both in gross and subtle the three gunas operate. That is a general statement. Above these three gunas is the ultimate reality, Brahman, Trigunatita, beyond the three gunas. That is also our true nature. Essentially we are above these three gunas. We are caught up in the three gunas. We don't know our true nature. Through the three gunas, we try to rise above the gunas by rising from below to above, tamas to rajas, rajas to sattva, then transcend sattva also. That is our true nature, the Atman and Brahman. Both are beyond the three gunas. So, the guna treatment is meant to tell us that you can manipulate these gunas if you conduct your life intelligently. You need not be caught up in the gunas all the time. You are caught up, but you can also free yourself. This knowledge helps you. Now I have got tamasic attitude of mind. I shall convert it into rajasic. Now there is rajasic. I shall change it to sattvic. This capacity to go from one guna to the other is within us, because essentially we are above these gunas. Only we don't know the truth. We are drawing upon that truth to deal with life in the three gunas. So this knowledge is helpful, as I said last Sunday, in developing character. For example, hatred, violence, all these things come from a mixture of rajas and tamas. So much of society today is full of this. Why should I be like that? That questioning must come. I need not be subject to all this. I can change it. What a beautiful idea. Who is to change it? Yourself. Nature cannot change you. The earth or heaven cannot change you. You can change. Keep this knowledge with you. Change it. You are free to be fully tamasic, with all pettiness, with all irksome attitudes, scattering peacelessness everywhere. Many people do like that. But why? Why do you do like that? That questioning must come. Then a change comes. Even the most wicked man can become a really good person. That change is possible. But effort is needed. Understanding is needed. Then slowly ratio forces change within the system. Tamas may remain a little. Rajas also will remain. But a touch of sattva comes. Then whole thing changes. Even in family life, between husband and wife, if too much of rajas and tamas are there, very little peace and understanding will be there. A touch of sattva can bring about a big change in interhuman relations in the most intimate field of life, namely the family. So this quarreling, fighting, always speaking in such a way as to taunt the other individual, bring out the worst out of that individual. This kind of thing we do and bring about suffering all round. Then we go to some magician to do some magic on me. Why do you do all that? You have the magic is in your hands. You can change the ratio of forces within you. You are the master of it. You don't know that truth, now know it. Vedanta tells everyone that you are your own master. If only you know how to go about it. All the forces are there. We spoke about will last Sunday. That will which can be made pure, which can be socially oriented. How can I make my will the instrument of somebody else's happiness? The moment I do so, will is transformed. Now I use it only to my own happiness. All must go around me like the planets around the sun. I am the center. That man cannot have peace. He cannot radiate peace also. A concern for others is essential. Then slowly sattva begins to appear in the human mind. The spirit of service is a wonderful idea by which these psychic energies are refined and purified. They become socially oriented, and that is the product called character. Character, a man of character. He will scatter only peace and happiness and welfare. This is a possibility in every person. Even the worst person can improve like this. Oneself becoming one's own educator in this field. Others may give suggestions and hints. Work I have to do myself. So nobody need feel that he is down and out. Not at all. If you think you are down and out, you are. If you think otherwise, you can also get out of it. Have faith in yourself. Shraddha, Atma Shraddha. I can conquer this situation. That is great contribution of Vedanta. Putting the responsibility on yourself. You can bring yourself down. You can also raise yourself up by changing your mind, your attitude, which also means changing the ratio of three forces, sattva, rajas, tamas, within yourself. Swami Vivekananda said, renunciation and service are the great ideals of India. Twin ideals. Let India go in that line, everybody will be all right. Everything will be all right. The little I is renounced by finding a place for the other individual around me. Not only I, but also you. I take you also into the picture. A little renunciation of I is needed to find a place for you. Quite naturally, if I want to find a place for you, I will reduce my space for myself. So when you find place for somebody else, you have practiced renunciation. Then spirit of service becomes natural, spontaneous, automatic. So a concern for others is essential for all human development. If that is not there, you get a Rakshasa nature, a demonic nature, destroying people's happiness, destroying yourself, a tragic life. That should not be. This line is open to you. So let there be a searching of the human energy system and refining it. That is all what is understood as religion and also as education. Changing this mind from down-going to up-going. Take the mind up and up. Now it is down and down. Gravitational pull of the lower nature, the genetic nature, the biological nature is very strong, and we are pulled down. Now another force comes, pulls it up little by little, little by little. So raise yourself by yourself. Krishna said in the 6th chapter, Uddhared Atman Atmanam. Raise yourself by yourself. What a wonderful expression it is. To children we have to say, I can help you. I can raise you once even, but always I cannot carry you on my shoulder. You stand on your own feet. Raise yourself by yourself. This teaching must go to children. A sense of responsibility will come to them. This is why Gita has spent some time to deal with these constituent forces of Prakriti, which are there in everything in this world, including in you and me. In nature, nature cannot handle them. In me, I can handle them. There is a focus of freedom in the human individual. It is not there in animal, it's not there in the plant, but it is there in man. I can handle these forces, utilize that freedom, change the ratio of these forces, make for refining of this energy system. This is a simple teaching meant for all. It has nothing to do with a creed or a dogma or any such thing. Whether you are in Russia or China or America or India doesn't make any difference. Wherever you are a human being, you have these resources within you. The handling of them you have to do yourself. We have natural resources. We process them through our technology, make for better human life in economic terms. So also in character. There are the resources, they are raw energy. We process them, refine them, make for beautiful character products. So that is the conclusion of the three guna discussion. Started from practically 13th chapter, 14, 15, all through it was coming. Now finally, the last concluding verse is this 40th verse. Na tadasti prithivyam va devi deveshu va panah sattvam. Sattvam here means only any entity, a being. Sattvam. Sattva is sattva-guna. Here it means an entity or a being in Sanskrit. Sattvam. Prakriti jair muktam. Free from prakriti. They are all what you call permutations and combinations of prakriti. That prakriti, tribhir gunayehi, composed of the three gunas. All are subject to this in earth or in heaven. That's a language. The only focus which is beyond the three gunas is your own infinite true nature, your infinite Atman, ever pure, ever free, ever awakened, according to Vedantic language. Nitya Shuddha, Nitya Buddha, Nitya Mukta. That is your true nature. And that is the nature of God also. God is ever free, ever pure. These gunas have nothing to do with Him. You cannot limit Him. But He utilizes these gunas to spread this world around us. And we are in it. Now we are asked to deal with it in a consummate manner. That knowledge also is given to us. That's the language which Gita has used all these various chapters. Now we enter into some of the most beautiful ideas in this book. The remaining verses are very philosophical and spiritual. The first statement is about man capable of achieving spiritual perfection according to the situation in which he or she finds himself. He did not change the situation. I am in this situation. In that situation also, you can realize the highest truth. Changing situations doesn't mean you are going to realize truth better. But when you accept a situation which satisfies your psychological temperament, your psychological makeup, then continue in it, you will achieve the highest even through that. This is a very profound teaching which is coming to us in a language which may contain very, very unsatisfactory factors. But when you analyze it, it is perfectly simple. Now this shloka says 41. Brahmana kshatriya visham shudranam cha parantapa karmani prabhibhaktani sabhava prabhavai gunaihi. In all society, you find people pursuing various occupations impelled by their own psychological nature, their own temperament, their own inclination. Sabhava prabhavai gunaihi. Gunas coming from their prabhava, sabhava. Sabhava means your own nature. You have got a psychic fund of energy in you that will incline you to a particular work, to a particular mode of life, and you are free to follow so. That's right, that is your work. A work that satisfies your aspiration, your temperament, your makeup. That's the natural state of a man. And so, we use the language Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. When we hear it in India today, we always think of the caste system. This has nothing to do with the caste system. In fact, the original caste system was based upon this concept. Everyone working according to his or her inclination, to express oneself through work. If I am put in a wrong work, I can't express my feeling and myself there. If it is in my own line, I can do better. So everybody chose what is suitable to self-expression. So that is called your dharma. Somebody else's dharma may be different, but this is yours, that is his, that is hers, etc. So 4 classifications are made by our great thinkers. Any society has these 4-fold classification, 4 types you can say. People who are calm, silent, inward, compassionate, devoted to knowledge and higher spiritual experiences. Brahmana type. That's a type. Any country you find a few people of this nature. Kshatriya, full of energy, full of forward thrust. Certain other great qualities are there. Heroic qualities also are there. The Kshatriya type. Then third is agriculture, industry, making money, spending it for various good purposes. That is there. The other, I'll give you my work, my labor. I don't have much of education, much of higher understanding, but I am prepared to work hard. That's also there. All over the world, you have people belonging to these 4 categories. Every family will have 1 or 2 or 4, all of these categories in every family. So that society is the best which gives free expression to these innate tendencies in the work that is allotted to people. So in our society, this was very much spoiled during the last 2000 years. We were asked to stay in one particular place, don't do anything else, that is your own. A genetically determined status in life, not determined by my aptitude, but only genetically determined through birth. So, we have thwarted human aspirations in India. We have arrested human development in India by putting this genetic interpretation on the concept of Varna. Varna is generally understood as occupation in those days. Carpenter, businessman, this, there, so many occupations are there. I took to it. The same father, a son says, I will start an industry. I will do business, I will do this. Another son will say, I will go to the army. I will do something else. Or I may go and become a monk somewhere in the Rishikesh. Everybody is free. That is the nature of Varna in the original sense. Many Western thinkers have said, in the original formulation, this occupation is the freedom to occupy yourself with a particular job was the essential meaning of Varna. The degeneration of it has been tremendous. It has spoiled human aspirations, destroyed the human spirit. We are trying to get out of it now, in the modern period. So this genetically conditioned caste will not exist hereafter. It is gone, its back is broken. But still, the conception of Varna will remain. Every country will have people whose aspirations will take them to a particular occupation. I have seen in our own houses, you will find a boy only sitting in meditation, going to worship, reading books, not interested in the money making, running about and all that. It is there. You may try to hammer everything into his head. Nothing will go there. His whole samskara is different. So also I am making money. I have seen a boy who made money by lending money to his own mother. So quickly he made money. That is his nature. So bhava is there. So also military service. I go there. I become a policeman. I do this and that. That is his nature. And he shines there. Because a job in which you can express your personality is the right job for you. If I feel like a square peg in a round hole, I will not be able to express myself. So we change jobs in the beginning, a little bit. Finally, if society is good enough, you can change a job. But change for change's sake should not be. Change to get a job finally, which will express my personality. Once you get it, constantly go into it, make the best out of it, work out your salvation in the context of that job. That is the language he has used here in this and the next verse. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Visham. Visham means Vaishya. Shudranam cha parantapa Arjuna, karmani pravibhaktani. Work has been allotted to each one by nature itself, or nature is God. How? Sabhava prabhavai gunaihi. Whatever guna coming from one's own nature has dictated to each one the work he or she is to do. There he or she will shine. That the next sloka will say. Through that work he will achieve the highest personality development and spiritual perfection. What are these various qualities that send us to various types of occupation. That is the next slogan. He says there, first, the Brahmana type. See the difference. Shamo damas tapaschaiva shanti rajyavamevacha. These are the qualities that make for Brahmana type, Brahmana occupational type. What are they? Shama, control of mind. Dhamma, control of the sense organs. The sensory apparatus is definitely under control. They cannot run about here and there. They are under control. That means he is not dictated by the senses. Shama, Dhamma. Then Shaucham, purity of life, physical and mental, both. Shanti, forbearance. Somebody does harm to him, he doesn't mind. He's not going to fight back. That is Shanti. Very high quality. Only in a highly evolved person you can get the Shanti. Somebody comes and troubles you, I say, I'll ram you now, like that, just retort immediately. That's the Kshatriya type, not the Brahmana type. Brahmana can bear a good deal. Just see the beauty of that quality. There are people who can bear a good deal. They have learned a great subject, bear and forbear. You bear what others do, and you do not allow others to suffer from you. So both you can do. That is the quality that makes for Jnanam, Shanti, Arjavam, another wonderful quality, straightforwardness. No diplomacy, straightforward. The Brahmana is of that nature. Diplomacy is needed only when you come down and money making and power handling. Then you need a lot of diplomacy. At this stage, no diplomacy at all. The Brahmana type. Shanti, Arjavamevacha. Arjava means Raju means straight. And the opposite is crooked. Kutila, crooked. Kautilya is the name given for the crooked mind, you know. Political mind means a crooked mind, a little bit. So, Arjavamevacha. Similarly, Jnanam, knowledge. Seeking knowledge. What is the truth of a thing? As we say, a child gets a mango. Immediately he will start biting and eating. Another child gets it, he will study what type of mango it is. I want to know what is this. Before I eat, I want to know that knowledge first. So Jnanam. Then Vijnanam, experiencing the truth of that knowledge. Jnanam and Vijnanam. Astikyam, a tremendous conviction. There is a meaning for this life of man, life of the universe. There is a profound meaning behind it. That conviction is called Astikyam, a positive attitude. There is a meaning behind all this world and human life. I am in search of it, I am in search of it. It is meaningless to say, I don't care, you become a cynic. A Brahmana can never be a cynic. He knows there is a truth behind it, I am in search of it, that feeling is there. So it is called Astikyam. Asti iti, attitude. There is a truth. There is a truth behind all this. I may not see it now, but it is there. Just like when you go to fish in a tank, you have first conviction, there is fish in this tank. Otherwise you would not have gone at all there. Suppose you knew in advance there is no fish. Will you go to fish there? So Astikyam is needed in fishing. So also in life, there is a truth behind this universe. I want to know it. I have not known it yet, but it is there. That attitude is called Astikyam, a totality of positive attitudes. That's the meaning of Shraddha in Sanskrit. Shankara defined Shraddha in his Kathopanishad commentary as Astikya Buddhi, mind attuned to a positive attitude. That's called Shraddha, Astikya Buddhi, a wonderful quality in human life. All positive attitudes come from that particular primary attitude. There is a truth behind this universe. Everything is meaningless. With that attitude you begin, your life will be utter negation. So Shraddha, Shraddha, Shraddha. Man of Shraddha alone can achieve knowledge, Gita said earlier chapters. Today we have to understand this truth, the positive attitude of mind. There is a truth behind. Let me go in search of it. So the Brahmana has this attitude, various control of mind, control of senses, austerity, purity, forbearance, and uprightness, straightforwardness, arjava. Then knowledge and experience of realization. This is the line of work. He is concerned with this only. That person has a Brahmana quality. His work is cut out for him. In that field only he can shine. If he is put into money making, he will be make a, what you call a poor show there. He is not fit for it. This is fit for it also. So that is number one. Any society has people of this nature. I have seen it. I travel all over the world. I see from the very beginning a young person asking this question regarding this kind of life. I want to do that. That's my temperament. Like that. So, Brahmana. Then second is Kshatriya. See the quality. Not because you are born from a Kshatriya ruler, you don't become a Kshatriya. Your quality must be Kshatriya. How many Kshatriya rulers' children are as good as ordinary people? They have no high Kshatriya quality. The quality is most important. That can come from any source. If I am born in a very poor, backward family, I can show Kshatriya quality. That we neglected in India. We wanted Kshatriyaship to come only from a Kshatriya family. So you get so many indifferent Kshatriyas also, useless Kshatriyas also. One king is a great king, his son is a fool, number one, and the whole state collapses. How many times it has happened in our history? Kshatriya children cannot be always Kshatriya. They may be far below par. That is possible. So this idea is good. Select one who has Kshatriya quality. What is the quality? Beautiful description given there. I feel our country needs a lot of Kshatriyas today. Not Kshatriyas of the old type, but of this type, the Gita type. What are they? Shauryam. See the first word, Shauryam, heroic, courage, Shaurya. Shauryam, Tejo, tremendous energy. A Kshatriya is one full of energy. Shauryam, Tejo, brilliant. A sort of brilliance is there. Then Dhruti, strong will, determination. Dakshyam, tremendous capacity, forbearance also. Dakshyam, he says. Dexterity and Yuddheja Pyapalayanam, wonderful quality. Not running away from battle. That's the meaning of Kshatriya. He is facing the battle. So how many times we have seen in our history this description. A Kshatriya with a wound on the breast is a Kshatriya. A wound on the back is not a Kshatriya at all. Because he was running, he was shot. Therefore, he is not a Kshatriya. Here you can shoot. I am prepared to face it. What an amount of courage. Everybody doesn't get it. Every Kshatriya's child doesn't get it at all. We have seen Uttara Kumara in Mahabharata so frightened seeing the army. Plenty of Uttaras are there in our country, doing politics or any other kind of profession. They are not fit for it. These qualities are very much needed today in public life. Kshatriya qualities. Shauryam, Tejo, Dhruti, Dakshyam, Yuddheja Pyapalayanam. Palayana means running away. Apalayana, not running away. Yuddhe, there is a problem before you. Face it. Don't run away from it. Not merely battle. Facing a problem also is the same. Have the capacity to control the problem by your energy. Then you have the Kshatriya spirit. Running away is not Kshatriya spirit. That should not be there. Then Dhanam, ever ready to give, an extended hand, ready to help people in distress. Wonderful quality of the Kshatriya. If around him, if people are in distress, he is there to help them. That is a wonderful quality, Dhanam. And the other is Ishvara Bhavascha, a sense of power. I have tremendous power of personality within me. I am not a mean little fellow. You know, when I am a mean mind, I may have plenty of money, still I can be very mean. But a Kshatriya is not mean at all. Always that spirit of royalty is there. And he gives fully, with whole heart as it were. Swamiji saw this Kshatriya spirit mentioned here in Rajasthan when he travelled there. He said, this is the Rajasthan. At one time we had this wonderful spirit. We have been eroding the spirit again and again. But it is there, some people. So, Dhanam Ishvara Bhavascha Kshatram Karma Subhavajam. That is the born of Subhava. One meant to be a Kshatriya has these qualities. Born of the Kshatriya attitude, his own Subhava. Kshatram Karma Subhavajam. Activities of a Kshatriya coming from his own attitude, his mental state. These are the various attitudes. And I wish all our children develop these Kshatriya attitudes. Strength, courage, facing problems, not crying because something happens, or running away, that kind of thing. Swamiji calls it manliness, not from the sense of what you call gender, but the sense of the meaning of the strength that is involved in that word. Manliness, strength. That's the idea. Men or women must develop this quality of strength. Weakness is no virtue in anybody. We thought weakness and fear are virtues in women. Absolutely wrong. Abala is the word for woman. Weak. In a feudal society, women are weak. They have been made weak. They have been told to be weak. Then they are weak. So we make it a literary pattern. Abala. But it is not. In any society you can have courageous women, not one but hundreds and thousands. That is India of the future. This word Abala will have no place there. When Upanishads will inspire humanity in India, men and women, we shall develop these qualities in larger numbers of people. Because the central teaching is infinite power and energy is hidden in every one of us. We have only to bring out, unfold, manifest. It is there in you. So this kind of discrimination based upon genetic conditions, we have ruined our people, arrested their development for all these centuries. Today we are removing that constraint. Let people grow to their fullest extent. Whatever possibilities are there, manifest them. Manifest them. What an amount of social prejudice we have, which suppressed many capable people. They couldn't rise higher at all. I am born as a sweeper, I will die as a sweeper. I can't become anything better. Though I have the capacity, society tells you remain there, remain there. Not only society tells you, Swami Vivekananda says, the Brahmana power made an agreement with the Kshatriya power, we shall keep all the rest down below. That is the ruin of India. The Brahmana power and Kshatriya power combined. Tell the state, don't allow him to do anything. He must remain only a sweeper. He cannot become a student of knowledge. He cannot become a highly intellectual person. So the power of the state yielded to the power of the Brahmana and kept millions of people down. That is our past history for the last 2000 years. You saw it in Mahabharata. Many people reacted to that situation, and even today I also react to that. We had that great military genius in the Mahabharata, Arjuna. And then nobody else can be and kept millions of people down. That is our past history for the last 2000 years. You saw it in Mahabharata. Many people reacted to that situation, and even today I also react to that. We had that great military genius in the Mahabharata, Arjuna. And then nobody else can be raised to that level. We suppress everybody else. The Hindu mind at that time was very, very caste-ridden in thinking, status-ridden in their activity. The result is, anybody who comes to compete with Arjuna, we put him down. Karna's case is the same. Karna was not a Kshatriya according to the understanding at the time. So Karna was put down because he wanted to defeat Arjuna. He had the capacity. And Duryodhana gave him a Kshatriya status. That is a wonderful part there. It goes against our grain that a man like Karna should be treated like this. Then Ekalavya, a more serious example. When people saw the Mahabharata episode, most of them must have felt, why this young man should have been treated like this by our great people? Why? Because the Brahmana power, Kshatriya power combined to keep down men like Ekalavya. He had tremendous energy, tremendous capacity. In any society he would have been at the top. But no, you must remain below, you must remain below. And you can see therefore Drona asking him for his thumb. He says, you are my guru. Your picture I keep and do my practice. So I treat you as your guru. Though he won't take him as a guru, as a disciple at all. But he did it out of sheer devotion to the teacher. And therefore, Drona says, give me Guru Dakshina. See the very iniquitous conclusion coming there. Give me Guru Dakshina. What is the Guru Dakshina? Give your thumb. Then he will not compete with the Kshatriya called Arjuna. Kshatriya will be the top, you will be below. Now these past events are indicative of a type of mind which never allowed millions of people to rise to their highest level. That's the darker side of our social history. Our philosophical, spiritual, cultural history is very good. Social history has many such dark patches, very serious patches. There is no use of criticizing the past. Only decision. This age, we can alter it. We can bring about a healthy development of man. We shall have that philosophy which will help for total development of all humanity. That's what we are doing today. And philosophers who came in this modern period, they all had this attitude. Swami Vivekananda was outspoken on this question. Development of every human being, according to whatever energies are provided within him or her. Provide such a society. Work for it. Don't allow anybody to accept special privilege. Vivekananda's particular expression. When privileges raise their head, knock them on the head. These are his own words. I am a Brahmana, I am more privileged. No, nothing. All equality. That is essential in society. So in one lecture delivered in England, the title is Vedanta and Privilege. No privileges. You may have your own equipment, your own capacities, try to express them. But don't claim special privilege for yourself. Whatever privileges others have, you will also be have. So special privileges ruin India. Don't allow it to come back again. When you hear this teaching of Swamiji, then sometimes you will find in this society of ours, based on democracy, trying to establish an egalitarian society, still there are people putting forth special privileges for themselves. Parliamentarians, assembly people, they have special privileges. To some extent we give a privilege, which society gives them, because it is needed. But more than that, if they begin to ask, we must be aware. Let the people be aware. Don't have special privilege. It is against our constitution, against our democratic order. That is why an awakened citizenship must be there to see that privileges do not raise their head, so that they will knock on that head again and again, Swamiji says. That kind of India we have to have now. We missed it for all these more than 2000 years. That is the importance of this modern chapter of Indian history. A glorious chapter. Spiritually, philosophically, we have nothing to achieve new. We have got everything there. But the society we formed out of all this is full of impurity, full of anti-human attitudes. Remove that, then a good society will come. This must be consciously, deliberately attempted by our people today. That's why in our education, we must get an insight into this subject. What the type of man you want to bring out of this country by this modern education? That will give you an insight into this deeper understanding of the four classes of human beings, how they can be made to build up their character in the best manner possible, how anything thwarting these in the form of special privileges will be thwarted by awakened public opinion. This is the importance of dealing with this particular subject today. It is only just a simple verse. We had it in the 4th chapter also. But whenever we hear the word Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, we only think of this current caste system. No, remove that caste system thing about it. It is a human type, human classification. Let us have it, but let us remove what is bad in it, what is poison in it. That is special privilege. That is what is being done today, and we have to be alert in that direction. First two, Brahmana, Kshatriya, two qualities. That alone cannot run a society. Productive activity is a big truth in itself. Agricultural production, industrial production, and then commerce, sending goods and services here and there. All that activity is the Vaishya activity. The third, he says, Krishi, Gauraksha, Vanijyam, Vaishya karma svabhavajam. When a man or a woman is of the temperament of making money through this type of activity, agriculture, industry, business, etc., he is in the field of Vaishya. And that is the way he will or she will express oneself. So what are they? Krishi, agriculture. Then Goraksha, protection of cattle, rearing cattle, Vanijyam, business or commerce, commodity exchanges going on. In fact, the whole of modern civilization began as a Vaishya civilization. East India Company started this modern period, even in Europe as well as in India. Only business, business, business. They have spread all over the world. And today, this international Vaishya business is so prominent everywhere. You have to deal with it because it's needed for human development. So it is not something against human welfare, for human welfare. So Vaishya has a great place in society. Lastly comes the Shudra, the worker, the proletariat. They don't have many other capacities, but I can work hard. I will get my food and shelter, clothing, comfort, everything. I will work. There are people like that also everywhere. You have seen, everywhere you can see it, even in America you have plenty of this type. Says, Paricharyatmakam karma. I am prepared to offer my services, I shall work. Only give me my respect, what is due to me. That is a beautiful idea. I can work, but doesn't mean I am a slave. I am not a slave. I give you my labor. You give me your money. I live my life according to that. But respect must be there, whatever the work the person does. So the Shudra has got a bad meaning in our society. That bad meaning will go. In foreign countries I have seen working people are full of self-respect, full of dignity. They don't crouch before anybody, cringe before anybody, no. They have self-respect. That is Shudra, not the usual Shudra you find in our society. A low-class person, disgusting, and he also has lost faith in himself. Not that Shudra. Labor. I have got plenty of energy. I can work. I can do this and that. Please utilize my services. Society needs it. That type of person is called a Shudra. In future in India, the Shudra will be number of people doing labor. Say for example in the industry. Labor is essential for industry. But we don't treat them as something low. They have a high status. In fact, we are going to make them managers of industry hereafter. So that kind of labor which has developed this capacity, they will remain labor, but they will have greater respect in society. Self-respect and social respect. Both will be there. That is a change that will come in India. And this has come through the touch of India with Western culture. Before that it was not there. Without Western interference, we would not have even thought about this to that extent. We thank them for that. They have given us a new outlook. Treat man as man, not as something below par. That should be completely changed. So, Krishi, Gauraksha, Vanijyam is a Vaishya karma subhavajam, Parjaryatmakam karma, Shudrasyapi subhavajam. These are the four types. In Russia you have them. In America you have them. China, India, Europe, everywhere. As I said, the only difference is, in the modern period, the West developed this capacity to respect every human being and every occupation. That they developed. That's why they became more democratic. We took longer time to achieve that sense of democracy now. Only now we have got it. We never had it earlier. And yet, this is the way of human development. Everybody has his or her own status, we recognize it. That is the individual worth and dignity. Not the work that you do, but you yourself. Work doesn't give a status to person. Only he or she has an initial status that is unalterable status as a human being. Other things come and go, but status as a human being remains always. We call it in our democratic language, the citizen is the universal status of everyone in India. Maybe a ruler, administrator, maybe a mere worker, but as a citizen, his status is supreme, highly respected. But he may be doing only ordinary street sweeping. What does it matter? He is a citizen doing a sweeping. You are a citizen doing government in the secretariat. Your citizenship is your common status. This is the great contribution of modern socio-political theory of democracy. We will develop a democratic society in India. Not only a politics of democracy, but society of democracy. That's our challenge. And Gita will help us and achieving the challenge. Gita doesn't ask you to discriminate. In fact, the next sloka deals with this subject from another angle. Your occupation. I am a sweeper. Can this occupation help me to develop myself? Yes, you can. It may not help you to develop in status in society. That is, I am a sweeper. You can't become a prime minister. If you become, well and good, if you have the capacity. But you may find difficult. If you think so, very good. But the very occupation you do, you can develop your own personality, your own inner life, your own spiritual fulfillment will come from that very occupation. That is the next sloka, a very important sloka, 45. Says, Sve sve karmanya bhiratah samsiddhim labhate naraha swakarma nirata siddhim yatha vindati tachranu. Sve sve karmani abhiratah, engaged with all enthusiasm in one's own occupation. Sve sve karmani means in one's own occupation. Abhiratah, delighted in that occupation. How does a person attain spiritual perfection? I will tell you, Krishna says, Sve sve karmani abhiratah samsiddhim labhate naraha. Man achieves spiritual perfection by engaging in any occupation. Through that occupation it can achieve high. That's a statement. What a great blessing to everyone. Unless you change your occupation, you cannot get spiritual development. Most people won't be able to achieve spirituality. Any occupation you have, make that a venue for your own inner development. Other advances will come to you. Nobody will stop you. If you have capacity, you can go to the highest. But apart from that, even that occupation can become a venue for your spiritual progress, development and fulfillment. Swakarma nirata siddhim yatha prapsyati tachrunu. Vindati tachrunu. Listen to me when I tell you how by engaging oneself in one's own occupation one attains perfection, samsiddhi. I shall tell you that. So this is the statement. Occupation you adopt according to your own psychological disposition. This will help me to express myself in my work. That is the first conclusion. Then, in this work, I can also achieve my spiritual development. That's a wonderful new idea. That a work can make you achieve spiritual development. Yes, it can. There is no need for change of occupation. That is the next idea. And so, see this sentence, it has wide ramification in modern society. Sve sve karmani abhiratah samsiddhim labhate naraha swakarma nirata siddhim yada prapsyati vindati tachrunu. Listen to me, I shall tell you. Now comes that great utterance of verse 46. Yatha pravrittit bhutanam yena sarvavidam tatam swakarmanatam abhyarchya siddhim vindati manavaha. Says, from whom this universe has come. The whole universe of beings has come. From whom? That Supreme Brahman. Yena sarvamidam tatam, who pervades everything in this universe. The cause pervades the effect. If the world has come from Brahman, the world is pervaded by that very Brahman. See the language. Yatha pravrittir bhutanam. Pravritti means the world process. The entire manifestation of this universe has come from that ultimate reality. Yatha means from where? Meaning thereby from that Supreme Brahman. And that Brahman is there in every particle in this universe. Yena sarvamidam tatam. Pervades everything here. What is the nature of that Brahman? Of the nature of pure consciousness, infinite and non-dual. That is the supreme reality. Not a lump of matter, but that infinite pure consciousness. Chit Swarupa is that infinite reality. It is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. As the Taittiriya Upanishad puts it, Brahman is defined as Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Truth, infinitude, and consciousness. That is the nature of Brahman. That Brahman has projected this universe. You and I have come from that. And that Brahman is there in every particle in this universe. In you, in me, in the world outside as well. If that is so, Brahman is not far away for you. It is nearest to you. Then what do? Swakarmana tam abhyarchya. Utilize your occupation to worship Him, to remember Him, and realize Him. Swakarmana tam abhyarchya. You worship Him through this karma. What a beautiful idea. Siddhim vindati manavaha. A person attains siddhi, spiritual perfection, by this orientation of occupation to that direction. What a beautiful message for everyone in this world. The humblest occupations and big social occupations, they have no difference so far as the spiritual value is concerned. Each one of them can take you straight to the highest spiritual development. This is the supremely redemptive message of the Gita. We have rarely understood it in this country. But in the modern period, we here, people elsewhere, will understand this teaching and see the universality of spiritual life. It's not meant for a select people. It is everybody's birthright to be spiritual. Because that infinite spiritual reality is in you and me. It's there in the life itself here. How shall I approach Him? Through your own occupation. You do not take to somebody else's occupation. Your own occupation becomes a meeting ground of man and God. That is the great teaching of the Gita. And many great mystics also have taught this wonderful truth. Sve sve karmani abhirataha samsiddhim labhate naraha. The human being achieves spiritual perfection by devotion to one's own occupation, delighting in one's own occupation, not by hating it, looking down upon it, but by liking it, making it the venue for tremendous development, one, service of society, two, my own spiritual advancement and perfection. Both are achieved through my occupation. Swakarmana tam abhyarchya. By your occupation, worship that person, that divine personality from whom we are all come. Siddhim vindati manavaha. Man achieves perfection through that orientation of occupation into spiritual dimension. This has a profound relevance to man today, especially in our secular philosophy of daily life. We can make it too secular and make it devoid of all spiritual value. That we are trying now, and we are finding it is very, very bad for human being. How to put a little value into this wonderful idea of occupation. That striving is going on. This particular reference in the Gita has got wide relevance in human society today. That subject I shall take up next Sunday when we meet here. This wide relevance of the teaching of the Gita to convert work into the higher achievement. Not only eating, drinking, what they call in Hindi, we say kapra, makan, or roti. Roti, kapra, makan. My occupation give me roti, kapra, makan. Very good. Let it give. But only that it will give. No, something more it will give. Let people inquire about it. What something more it is. Wow, what a wonderful idea. So that I shall deal with next Sunday. The concept of work and human development and fulfillment. This is what affects everyone in the world, universal. So here, just indication Krishna has given here. I shall deal with it next Sunday. And before we close, there are 2-3 new books have come into the bookstall and important day-to-day life and work are concerned, this philosophy that is expounded here. One is the Harvard University lecture in 85, and subject is Vivekananda and human excellence. Till now we had Hindu excellence, Muslim excellence, Western excellence, Indian excellence, etc. Swamiji came and told us there is a unity of human excellence, not at all segmental. He showed himself in his life and he taught it for us in India and the world abroad. That was the subject of that lecture in 1985. That is just published. It came here only 2-3 days ago, about 6.5 rupees or so cost. Vivekananda, Human Excellence, that is the Harvard University lecture. The other is Enlightened Citizenship and Our Democracy. Very important for all of us, young and old, how to become citizens of this great country. That basic dignity of man in Indian context is my citizenship of free India. What all blessings come out of that awareness. Why it is not there? What are the evil attitudes we have got since independence? How to correct them? These are the subjects dealt with in this book. Enlightened Citizenship and Our Democracy. And the other is a very beautiful theme, Vivekananda's vision of free India. What did Swamiji think of this country in the future? With all the forces acting upon us, by manipulating all this properly, can we develop a healthy, progressive, socio-political order in this country, full of harmony and understanding? Is it possible? How did he deal with the subject? How does it inspire us? That is the subject of this third book, Vivekananda's Vision of Free India. These are all separate booklets that have come to here, bookstall from Bharati Vidya Bhavan, and one person in Delhi. He printed several copies of this for distribution to people. So those who want can go and see in the bookstall. And we shall spend a few minutes in silence, then disperse.